Hello and welcome to another standard gameplay video on the official MTG Arena channel. Today I'm featuring some gameplay from the early access event for Phyrexia, All Will Be One, and I was asked to build a deck around Elesh Norn, Mother of Machines, which is what we're doing here with this mono-white Elesh Norn deck. 5 mana for a 4/7 legendary Phyrexian Praetor with Vigilance, saying if a permanent entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. So we get to double dip, while permanents entering the battlefield don't cause abilities of permanents your opponents control to trigger, so the opponent doesn't get to have any fun while Elesh Norn is in play. And then of course our deck is filled with nice ETB effects, starting at 2 mana with Ambitious Farmhand, which can search up a Plains and put it into our hand, can also maybe transform into Seasoned Cathar, a 3/3 with a lifelink if we can enable Coven. Then Ossification, a powerful new removal spell, has to enchant a basic land we control, so at its best in a mono-white deck with 22 basic Plains, but can easily play it in a 2-color deck as well that has sufficient number of basics. And then when Ossification enters a battlefield, we can exile target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls until it leaves the battlefield, so doubling up on Ossification with Elesh Norn is also very powerful. And then Spirited Companion just draws a card when it enters, so it can also double up with Elesh Norn. At 3 mana, the card draw continues with Inspiring Overseer, which will also gain 1 life on a 2/1 flyer. And then Combat Thresher can be played for its prototype cost, which will be a 1/1 double strike, otherwise 7 mana for a 3/3 double strike that also draws when it enters. Then we've got a Loran to blow up opposing artifacts or enchantments, and then Touch the Spirit Realm we can cast for 3 mana and also double up with Elesh Norn. Sometimes the opponent doesn't present any targets for us to exile, in which case we can always channel it to flicker one of our creatures and maybe get more card draw going that way as well. Can also use it to protect a key creature. Then at 4 mana we don't have any ETB effects, but we do have some powerful cards, including Phyrexian Vindicator. 4 mana for a 5/5 flyer, says if damage would be dealt to the Vindicator, prevent that damage, and then redirect it to any other target instead. And then 2 copies of the Wandering Emperor, which we all know can exile tapped creatures, make samurai tokens, and add +1 counters to the team, and can also be flashed in. Then we've got our 4 copies of Elesh Norn at 5, and then topping off our curve, we've got a few more goodies. 2 copies of Sanctuary Warden, which can immediately draw a card and make a citizen token when it enters by removing a shield counter. Can also remove the +1 counters from Wandering Emperor, perhaps, to get additional card advantage, and with Elesh Norn out, we can immediately draw 2 cards instead. And then the Eternal Wanderer, another powerful planeswalker from Phyrexia, can use the 0 ability to make 2/2 double striking samurai, and then the +1 can either remove an opposing creature for a turn or maybe flicker our own creatures to re-enable ETB effects, and then a -4 can be sort of a one-sided board wipe, leaving us with our best creature and the opponent with their worst creature, and they can also only attack the Wanderer with 1 creature at once. And then a mana base only 22 Plains and 1 Eiganjo, which can also be channeled for additional interaction, because we have so much card draw and 3 copies of Farmhand to find a Plains that we also don't want to risk flooding out, but it's always a tricky balance to strike, making sure we have enough lands to curve out, but not enough to draw too many of them. So yeah, that's our deck. Now let's jump into some games and see how the deck does. Okay, we're on the draw, and yeah, our hand seems fine. Could use some interaction at 3 or 4 mana, but at least we'll hit our land drops and set up Elesh Norn into Warden. And there's our potential interaction. Facing red-black, Legends. Okay, might be a 5-color Legends deck with Joda, the Unifier. So hopefully we can find a few more spot removal spells. At least Elesh Norn will be relevant in the matchup, can shut down Lagrella, as well as Ertai Resurrected, which can both kill when they enter. Although it's possible, it's just like a 3-color Legends deck and not quite a full 5. Glissa, yeah, that's a good one. Probably have to take out Glissa with Touch, otherwise they can destroy it. Still kind of scared of a Partners next turn, pumping the Bodyguard, but might as well attack since I'm not planning to chump with a Farmhand just yet. It's gonna be a Florian, so it looks like Junt Legends, and yeah, there's lots of powerful ones. Would love an Ossification next turn to play alongside another Farmhand, or we can maybe save it until after we play Elesh Norn. The saving grace is that their deck probably doesn't have a ton of spot removal, but there might still be a go for the throat in our future. Florian finds Play with Fire. but no land. Okay. Play farmhand and pass. And then next turn, play the Mother of Machines, which can hopefully save us, since we're somewhat behind on board now. Okay, play with fire, killing farmhands, fine. Don't mind. And should I chum block already? Reason to keep farmhand around is to maybe play around an edict effect in the future. Opponent's likely to hit our land drop even if we chump. And then they could add another 3-drop to the board. Glissa comes to mind, which I might want to chump with a farmhand instead of with Elesh Norn. So I think I take 6 for now. So opponent's likely looking for another land. And yeah, just need Elesh Norn to survive. And then Sanctuary Warden, a good way to stabilize, making a few tokens. Right. Grabs Migloz, which can destroy our enchantments, so that will free Glissa. Wandering Emperor's not bad. I feel like Elesh Norn's still going to be better for us. Although, what happens next turn? Migloz can destroy Touch, get Glissa back, as well as Pump, but we can chump it with a farmhand, unless they go for Vigilance and Menace, in which case they wouldn't have the mana to necessarily play anything else, although they could just pump and not destroy the enchantments, but I would be chumping it first anyway, so they would have to go for Menace. Yeah, I should still be able to survive though. Close call. Let's play Elesh Norn, and we'll see what happens. 4/7's not the easiest to get past. We've seen play with fire, so that's something we'll have to watch out for. Although I think we would be dead on board to a play with fire. Kill farmhand, and then Migloz can gain menace and pump. Okay, opponent moves to combat. Also have to remember that Bodyguard can give the legendaries 1 extra power, which could be relevant. Okay, no attacks it seems. And a Shieldred second main. Okay, that's its own problem here. But we get to untap with Elesh Norn at least. And an Ossification answers Shieldred, which is probably better than playing Warden and dying to the Shieldred triggers. So let's exile 2 creatures with Ossification. And the Indestructible is not going to help against it, so take out Shieldred, take out Migloz. And then still have a Wandering Emperor at the ready. Okay. Probably should have attacked with Elesh Norn there, since it has Vigilance, and a double block could not have punished us, since the +1 +0 doesn't really add on to the 6 power. Getting a little too excited about Elesh Norn. Do see an attack. Okay, can just chump Bodyguard, exile Florian, without putting Elesh Norn in harm's way. Maybe see what's up first. Do have a backup Elesh Norn, to be fair. They could sacrifice Plaza to fizzle the -2 as well. Alright, so that's their entire turn gone. And then we'll block Bodyguard, chump Florian, so they don't get to draw. And then Sanctuary Warden can maybe still find more 1-mana plays as well. Should have considered plussing Emperor to get the +1 counter before playing Warden to keep the shield counter. Although 5/5 should be more than large enough here. Alright, GG's. Looks like Elesh Norn gets the job done. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the play. Hand seems keepable. Farmhands into touch, setting up Vindicator. Facing green-white. Alright, looks like an artifact synergy deck here. So do we want to Overseer, ignore the Dissident, or just take it out now? Dissident's gonna be scary over time. We have 2 removal spells, so close call. Start by attacking. And yeah, let's dodge the Spirit Realm to be mana efficient. Exile the Dissidents. Next turn Vindicator, and then turn 5 we can Overseer plus Ossification. Okay, Contaminator is also quite scary, although they'll have to get past Vindicator first. Alright, Simian Simulacrum, pretty good with Contaminator, but still doesn't get past Vindicator. And there's an Elesh Norn. Okay. They'll play Elesh Norn and probably keep Vindicator back on defense in case they answer Elesh Norn, so we still have a good block available. Although we could certainly get more aggressive. And then next turn should be fun, doubling all our triggers. The Hive, not a big deal. And a Steel Seraph. Okay. So even if Flying Contaminator doesn't get past the Vindicator. And let's get some triggers going. Overseer, draw 2. And then Ossification. Can exile Steel Seraph and Contaminator. And Lay Down Arms takes care of Simulacrum. And then next turn we could play a 7-mana Thresher. Possible I should have held on to at least one removal spell here, but yeah, that was a little bit too much for our opponent to handle. Okay, we're on the play. Hand seems keepable. Companion to help hit our land drops. Some removal. And then Vindicator should be great in a lot of matchups too. Opponent blue-black. So if they're a very controlling build, may not be the best matchup for Ossification. And Vindicator also not going to be at its best. I can flicker Companion in the hopes of drawing a land with it at least. Although it would come back end of turn, so I guess we'll pass for now. Opponent applies a poison counter. Yeah, let's just flicker Companion now. Alright, hybrid, so definitely a proliferate deck. We get to draw again, and hit our land drop, that's good. So we could Ossification to exile the hybrid, so we don't have to worry about it. For now I think I still prefer playing a 3-drop to be mana efficient, and then we can maybe double 2-drop later. So between Thresher and Overseer, don't have a strong preference. I guess Thresher attacks into the hybrids a bit better. And don't necessarily want to trade, since they can probably get this one back pretty easily. Possible our opponent cares about the poison counters too, of course, with the prologue in their deck. Although soon we can play some flying blockers or just exile the hybrid outright. Okay, so we'll attack. And now just play Vindicator, I think, which may or may not survive. But we've got a backup. Opponent counters it. And now they'll go up to 3 poison counters, so Corrupted is enabled. Curiosity, 1 mana draw 2 is also quite nice. And another one. Okay. So they're definitely pulling ahead here. Although on the board, they're not applying too much pressure at least. Step 1 attack, and then probably going for Overseer and Ossification. Not sure in which order. Maybe bait out a counterspell on Ossification and resolve the Overseer instead. Although it's debatable which one's better. Opponent draws in response. Possible they're just on the poison plan now. Next turn we can double spell or try and resolve Eternal Wonder as well. And we can potentially exile Tekethal. Could see a Drown in Ichor. Take care of a creature, proliferate twice, but nope. Opponent may be hanging on to a counterspell. So, Tekethal's kind of scary. Probably bait out a counterspell with Vindicator and then try and resolve Ossification. The 5/5 would survive the -4/-4 effect at least. So that didn't quite work. So possible they don't have any counterspells left. Or they were holding a different answer for Vindicator. Okay, opponent kills Thresher, proliferates twice. It's up to 6 poison. Put Tekethal down. Attack for 3. So can our opponent deal 4 more poison before we can deal 10 damage is the question. Prologues 1 more. Soaring City to bounce Vindicator. And find an Overseer. So I think I prefer replaying the 2 creatures as opposed to playing Eternal Wonder, since the creatures deal a little bit more damage here. Alright, that's 7 poison. Opponent at 7 life. Looking at the graveyard. Could this be the black Twilight? Looks like it. Get back a creature, although there's no creatures in the graveyard since we exiled them all. So Vraska instead. Fair enough. Targets Vindicator, turning it into a treasure, and now Venser. Okay. Wandering Emperor's not bad. So we can take out Vraska, play Eternal Wanderer, which seems like the safest move here. And then what to do with the Eternal Wanderer. Can make a Samurai, or we can exile Venser temporarily, so they don't get to make a token with it. Samurai seems better. Vindicator looks like a very pretty treasure. Abandon Mire, gonna try and get back Vraska. The only option. So that could draw and proliferate, get us to 8 poison, make a token with Venser. Although Eternal Wonder could potentially get rid of the token from Venser. It's going to be close. Opponent also loses 1 life. And a farmhand. So if we +1, exile the token, attack with all other opponents, the +1 counter from Wandering Emperor should close out the game, except for the lifelink from Venser, which would save them. And I imagine they'll be blocking the double strike creature, since it's kind of forced. And we cannot take out Vraska, since at that point we can just kill our opponent instead.
Some time.
Okay, let's see what happens. Opponent jumps, of course. And then we're 1 damage short, sadly.
I hope you're ready to lose. Strike fast and strike hard.
Farmhand can transform. But 1 more proliferate card or poison card will do it. Draw 2. We're sweating. And that'll do it. GG's. Maybe I should have attacked with a companion early on to get that 1 extra damage in. Although I guess Vraska also loses 1 life here. So does it end in a draw now? Okay, I guess it does. I'll take it. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the play. Hand has potential. Some early removal. Companion and Thresher to hit our land drops to play Vindicator and Elesh Norn. Facing green-whites. Well, we draw our expensive cards. Hopefully we can hit our lands in the meantime. So, play Thresher. And now we can just curve into a Vindicator, ignore the Beast Caller for the time being, save our removal for bigger threats. Our deck doesn't have an incredibly high land count, despite having some expensive creatures, but that's also because we have so much card draw. We've got the Farmhand that also helps us find an extra planes. Informant could point towards some graveyard synergies. Just discarding a forest. Do I want to double block? Not really when I have a Vindicator coming up. And then if they have a creature like Brutal Cathar to exile it, I'll be able to free Vindicator with a laydown arms. And I'll keep the other creatures back in case we want to block Informants. Don't really feel like racing. Okay, fair enough. Fateful Absence. Clean solution to the Vindicator. Make that 2. Oh, glad we've got Companion back to trade for Informant. And eventually these will turn into an extra card. And sure, we'll give Elesh Norn a try. Next turn, double Overseer at the very least. Possible they have a 3rd Absence when they were using it this aggressively. Yep. And Pack Leader. Okay, probably have to take a turn off using a laydown arms, but the late game is looking good. Could play Warden now too. Sure. Remove a shield counter, make a token draw card. Find a backup Elesh Norn. And our opponent concedes. Yeah, 3 clue tokens is 3 more cards, and they're just super far behind in resources. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the play, and yeah, this seems like a keeper. Should be able to hit our land drops with all the extra card draw. Vindicator into Elesh Norn. And let the double triggers begin, hopefully. Opponent to red-black. Make that Grixis. Let's go with the Thresher. Doubling the Overseer trigger with Elesh Norn gains an extra life. Not sure if that's going to matter, but they deal the same amount of damage. Okay, Fable. Still very good. Could try and take it out with Ossification, although I'd rather hit my land drops with Overseer. Which we did not. Okay, that's a shame. We'll stay back, so at least we can still trade for the Shaman if they have 1 removal spell. Ooh, and double Hellraiser discarded. Yeah, great pairing with Fable. Tampering to help enable the dragons as well. So they must have even more copies in hand. We hit our land. So Vindicator seems okay. And then attack with Overseer, leave Thresher back. So they need 9 in graveyards, Singularity, something they'll maybe try and cast for free with the Hellraiser. And a Cruelty. Can tutor up another Hellraiser, perhaps? Or I guess reanimate one. Opponent got pretty unlucky, not finding any non-creature spell. And Wandering Emperor the draw. So Reflection's going to be a problem with Hellraiser. Want to try and take that out. Could try and play an Overseer first, but then if we miss on a land, it's kind of a disaster. So let's just use Ossification on Reflection of Kiki Jiki, I think. And then Vindicator should be good to attack. Five cards in graveyard. And trade Thresher for the Goblin. And a Brotherhood's End. Not the best against Vindicator. Can finish off Hellraiser. And Spell Dancer. Fair enough. Well, I guess attack, play another Vindicator. Opponent milled another Hellraiser. They need 10 more cards in graveyard to get the free spell from Tampering. For now, Novika. Also very good. Although Vindicators can attack into it, and if they block, we can finish it off. And they're kind of forced to block, otherwise they would still die, so I think we still have it here. Just attack with the team. And then we can redirect the 6 damage upstairs. Nothing else required. But yeah, cool deck from our opponents. They were close to casting some powerful free spells. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the play. Our hand's a little on the slow side, admittedly. But hopefully we still get to curve Overseer into Emperor into Elesh Norn. And then at least we'll have a backup Elesh Norn. Opponent could be on control, so don't expect my removal to be at its best. But luckily haven't drawn any so far. Okay, Jace, maybe a mill deck.
The weak-minded will be educated in we can improve upon your ideas.
So do you want to resolve Overseer or Emperor? Could see the advantage of having a Planeswalker in play. Could resolve it now. Could wait until a later point to maybe play around a counterspell by flashing in Emperor. So let's just play Overseer now. And then Jace can keep the Overseer in check. But if we wanted to main phase Emperor to play around a counterspell, then they could have also shrunk the token. Okay, so I guess now we'll pass with a plan of flashing in Emperor.
The data requires scrutiny.
Finally, I'm home.
Make a token.
May your blade strike true.
And we'll attack Jace with both. Question is what to do with Emperor. Likely making another token, as opposed to putting a counter somewhere. And then I could also channel Touch the Spirit Realm on Overseer if that's maybe the target of an opposing Emperor. And Jade's down. And how do we feel about Elesh Norn? Yeah, give it a try.
Phyrexia's truth.
Deluge in response. So we can expect a board wipe next turn, so I'm not going to make another Samurai, we'll go for a +1 counter instead.
Remember your training.
Depopulate, sadly don't get to draw. Could try and resolve Warden, but Essence Scatter is a known quantity. So probably go for another Elesh Norn. And a Samurai.
Guards, to me.
And then an Absence to take care of our Planeswalker. And a Farewell now to exile everything, including our clue. Okay, good spot to resolve our Sanctuary Warden at least. So we want to keep up touch to flicker Warden in case of any removal effects. Could still play Vindicator alongside it, but I guess we'll start by attacking and drawing with the Warden itself. Opponent's got their own Emperor.
Anyone who harms my
So sadly we don't get to draw since they exiled in response to the trigger, but that's okay. And if we have 7 mana, we can play Elesh Norn and Companion to immediately get some extra advantage from it. Late on arms, not the best in this matchup. Absence to remove another counter, so we might see another Depopulate. At least now we have the Clue token left over. And Elesh Norn into Companion.
We've got the edge of this fight.
If they counter Elesh Norn, I would probably just sack the Clue instead of playing Companion. Now we'll go for Companion. And another Deluge, so there's a lot of card draw coming up. Augury can add more loyalty to Emperor. And Ossification's an answer to the Planeswalker at least. So how do we sequence Farmhand into Thresher into Ossification maybe? And attack.
Not to miss me.
Opponent at 11, but they can flash back Deluge now to find more sweepers. And something like another Farewell would be painful, exiling the Ossification. Okay. Start with Companion. Not too afraid of milling out just yet. Overseer's nice, although we might want to save some leftovers in case of another sweeper. So let's say we attack with everyone. Then I can still crack my clue. That seems fine. Not sure if I should play around a Hullbreaker Horror and not attack with Elesh Norn. It's pretty difficult when they have a Deluge, so I think Elesh Norn's still attacking here. Damage happens. And then probably crack the clue, and that's it. Flashback Deluge. No doubt finds more board wipes. And an Emperor as well. At least now Farewell, getting rid of ossification's not as bad, since they already have an Emperor in play.
Protect the people.
Jace, okay.
I've already read.
Have 13 cards in graveyard, so cannot quite draw 3, but it's gonna mill 15.
I will
Uh-oh.
iterate.
Are we just gonna get milled out here?
I will shatter
Another Jace will do it. Yeah. Well, that's unfortunate. We drew too many cards.
Phyrexians' plans are already in motion.
Triple Jace for the win. Alright, GG's.
Surrender every last thought to Phyrexia.
On to the next one. Okay, we're on the draw, and seems fine. We'll be able to hit our land drops, and then I've got a bit of interaction. Opponent on an Esper deck, turn 2 Surge Engine. Well, Loran seems like the perfect answer, so no need to play Ossification just yet. Farmhand, get a Plains. And then curve Loran into Vindicator, perhaps. Opponent leveling up Surge Engine. There is of course the concern of a counterspell, but we'll give Loran a try. And then next turn we could double spell. Right, make disappear. Double ossification means if they counter one, we've got another. Could also just play Vindicator, get that countered, take another 3. And then next turn maybe Overseer plus ossification could line up better. If ossification resolves, I can add another farmhand to the board, which is still okay. So we'll hit for 1 first. And at least ossification resolves through a Make Disappear, so they'll need a different answer. That worked. And then I don't care if farmhand gets countered as much. Hybrid, so there are some proliferate synergies here. So how about Overseer? And then we can still try and exile the hybrid, as opposed to go for Vindicator, which is also decent, although not as mana efficient. So maybe again try Ossification first, since that's probably the card we want to resolve the most, so we don't have to deal with the recursive hybrid. Attack for 2. And play Overseer, which may get countered now. Fair enough. So now we can play Vindicator and pay for a Make Disappear. And then Touch the Spirit Realm, also a way of saving my creature in the face of spot removal. I anticipate that one will work, sadly. Vindicator exiled. I'll save touch to maybe flicker Overseer or remove an opposing creature as opposed to getting an extra planes. So attack for 2. And this would be a great time to find an Elesh Norn as well. Opponent down to 12. Cycles a lounge. So I'm hesitant to channel touch here. Vindicator's nice. Maybe should have played Vindicator before attacking to level up a farmhand. Go for the throats. I could channel Touch the Spirit Realm, and then I should probably just activate this now. Oh, I guess never mind, we're short 1 mana. I guess Ossification makes it a little bit harder to track how many untapped lands we have, although we were still in excellent shape, and then we can use Touch the Spirit Realm as a removal spell instead. Okay, so we got to see our mono-white Elesh Norn deck in action, and quite happy with how it turned out. Every time we got to untap with Elesh Norn, we could easily take over the game, so the card seems very powerful, and there's a lot of ways to build around it, all the way from mono-white to some multicolor builds as well. But for now, I want to thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed, and as always, have a nice day.